Hi, I'm Steve McCaskill, Technology Editor at SportsPro, and I'm here at SportsPro AI at London Stadium. I'm joined by Chris Dix, who's the CTO at the ATP Tour. Chris, thank you for joining me. Why don't you give us an idea of how the ATP Tour is using AI? What sort of things are you doing? What areas of the organisation is it benefiting?
So thanks for having me, by the way. And if I think about the whole organisation, one of the more mature AI implementations will be at a tournament level. So ball and player tracking capabilities have been around for a long time. You would have heard of suppliers like Hawkeye, Bolt 6, the like. So that's quite mature technology now, and that's enabled us to optimize the way we score tournaments and matches. So we don't have the need for line umpires now. And then as we start moving into other areas of the business, we're very much developing our fan engagement strategy and our corporate tooling strategies as well. So we are rolling out operational efficiency tooling like Copilot. We're looking at specialized tools to help other areas of the business, to help build things like corporate intelligence models, those sorts of things. In the editorial space, we're starting to centralize our content into a digital asset management solution that allows us to identify players, logos. We can extract text, those sorts of things. So there's certain areas where we're starting to be smarter, but we're on quite the sort of beginning of our journey, really. But there's lots of opportunity there for us.
And you mentioned fan engagement. I mean, how is AI implementations impacting your output and how you speak to fans, the type of content you produce?
So our content, say again, we're on a sort of reasonably early stage, but the opportunity is massive for us. So in terms of how we create content, we can start to turn around content quicker now because we can start to do advanced tagging, those sorts of things, which are now starting to come online. In terms of generally fan engagement, we've still got a lot to do around how we connect with our fans in terms of identity, having a centralized identity solution. So then we can really start providing things like personalization recommendations. And the key for us is to remain relevant and relatable to fans. So at the moment, our fans don't sign in. So we have some information about how our fans use our digital products. But there's a lot more to do. So as people can start to sign in using our central identity solution, we start to understand more, so we can start moving from effectively sort of no personalization through to things like preference-based personalization, segmentation, and then at some point in the future we may look at hyper-personalization. But I think we've got a lot to do already, so we've got an opportunity to deliver a lot of value to our current fans before we need to go right to the other extreme of personalization, for instance.
Now, the ATP Tour, it's, I don't off the top of my head how many tournaments a year, how many matches, how many points, games, etc. But it's quite a data-rich sport in terms of, there's so much data collected from every single point. It gets even the umpire is collecting data, aren't they? So does tennis have an advantage over other sports in that respect because there is this much data that you can create, that you have to create content and say, like, if someone wants a video of all aces in a given match, that's very you've got that data to hand. So do you think you have an advantage over other sports?
I think over maybe team-based sports, our data is possibly less subjective, I guess, and we are very lucky that we collect huge amounts of data, so we can create consistent data insights. So we have, as part of the ATP family, we have an organization called TDI, Tennis Data Innovation, and they built a fantastic data platform that allows us to generate really rich insights for our fans, but also out to other places like the betting market and those sorts of things. So I'd say a lot of our insights, they're from a single source of truth. Even more so now, because what we used to have we still have in some places what's called like a level 2 data, which is people courtside suggesting something is an unforced error, those sorts of things, certain mistakes or those things, and they're a little bit subjective. But as we start leveraging more of the ball and player tracking data, everything can be consistent. But even when you think about line calling now, it's far more consistent. If you're not, because someone calling a line may be a bit more subjective. I might think it's in, you might think it's out. But we're using computer vision technology. We can be really, really accurate.
Yeah, it's binary, isn't it? It's in or out. It's not.
Exactly.
It's not a subjective tackle in football or something. You've
Yeah.
got that. You've got that ability. With regards to this data collection, content. Does it? What else can it be used for? You have this obstacle tracking data that's being used to help help officiate matches. You've got detailed information on points and I guess the direction, the area the ball is bounced. So things like immersive experiences, I'm thinking of. I mean, how does that help?
It's something I really want to explore, to be honest. I think it's one of those areas that can make the game far more accessible as well. So there's two areas around using our data, I think, to really drive fan engagement, whether that's at the tournament or away from the tournament. So I think those immersive experiences, maybe sort of headset experiences, those sorts of things, can bring others that couldn't maybe normally be at a particular tournament to a tournament. And then being at the tournament, we start thinking about smart stadiums and using the data to help drive other forms of engagement where it may not be point-based data, but it may be preference-based data. So one of your favorite players that you've tagged, for instance, as one of your preferences, maybe doing an autograph signing moment. We know you're in stadium, we can tell you about it, create an opportunity for you, potentially even sell your seat for a few hours for someone else to come and have an opportunity. Because there's so many people who have a ground pass who maybe don't get the opportunity to have a stadium seat. For instance, it may also create a little bit of rotation, an opportunity there. And, it equates to new forms of revenue as well.
Yeah, I guess it's just visibility on and off the court, I suppose, for what you can do at tournaments. Speaking of optical tracking technology, I mean, it was something that was a bit of a hot topic in the summer. Wimbledon replacing line judges with electronic line calling. But obviously, it's something that you've been doing for some time on the tour. I think it was trialed at the next gen series, and then it got rolled out. So, why was this introduced on the ATP Tour? What was it about this technology that you felt would help enhance the tour?
Well, first of all, I wasn't involved in that decision because it was before my time. But I think it's just a natural evolution of consistency and accuracy. And not anyone can just turn up with a solution. Our officiating teams have created the highest standards that you have to meet in order to be. You could either be a ball and player tracking data provider, but in terms of electronic line calling, it's a different set of standards. So I think it just generally brings efficiency and consistency to the game.
One more recent project has been the use of AI to protect players from online abuse on social media. You released some stats in the summer to show the effectiveness of that project. Could you just guide us through it? Why you felt this was an important area to focus on? Why you did it and how you implemented it?
Well, we're working with one of our partners, Sport Radar, through our TDO relationship. And I mean, players are so vulnerable. They're out there on social media. They're representing the sport, but they're so open to different opinions and those sorts of things. And I was lucky enough to go and meet the team who manages that technology. And it's interesting the number of cases that we've had where abuse has been sent, things have been dealt with early before they escalate. Authorities may be involved, and it's just we need to create a layer of protection for players across the tour. Just open to so much sort of scrutiny or opinion and those things, and it's not comfortable.
Yeah, it's something we've seen other sports organisations try to do, and it's something we've heard about at this event. But from what you've just said, you're quite a wide range of remit. There's AI in lots of areas of the organisation. But what's the challenge you faced in terms of how you've implemented AI, or something that perhaps still needs to be overcome to use it more widely?
I think it's in terms of implementing AI. One, you want to be curious, but you've got to be careful. So we need to set some sort of standards or policies, not for me to be the bad guy, but to make sure we're using these tools responsibly. So there's tools are easily accessible these days. It's easy for someone to sign up, go and do something, like throw a note taker into a meeting, or use all sorts of different tools. But we've implemented policies that make sure that we really understand what we're using, how we're using it, start to assess, where's my data going to be stored? If I'm recording meetings or something, I'm creating additional assets for the company. So it's It's making sure, is the tool appropriate? Does it meet the need? Do we know where our data is going? So it all sort of lines up to being a responsible use of AI. And I think one of the challenges is really also creating the education internally. When we look at things like GPTs, those sorts of things, what's the first thing everyone does? Can you book my holiday for me? Everyone must start with that. I'm sure they do. But then when you start to think about prompt engineering and how do we use these tools to get the best out of them? Also making sure our content is in the right place. So for instance, we're a Microsoft house internally from a corporate perspective, and we may have documents that may not all sit within OneDrive, for instance. So making sure that our data is in the right shape in the right place means that we can start to get even more value out of these tools. So I think the challenge is making sure we're adopting it in the right way, and we haven't got unauthorized tools that are coming in from the sidelines that may look on the outside they're going to provide value, but actually it could also cause us a bit of an issue if we're not used appropriately.
No, I mean, tennis has a strong legacy of innovation in terms of materials used for rackets, the balls, even new surfaces, advances in sports science, nutrition, etc. And now we've seen this more digital phase of innovation, and we've talked about AI extensively. But in your view, what technology is going to transform tennis in the next few years beyond anything else? What are you most excited about, either on or off the court?
I think we're doing a lot in the performance space, but as you say, we're doing a lot around sports science now. We have a new lead in the sports science area. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Has a reasonably clear strategy of where he wants to go, and technology is going to enable that. So it's not just about player and ball tracking, how far am I running, what's the load on my body, those sorts of things. It's starting to mix in things like nutrition, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of other factors that we want to look at. So in that area, that's exciting from a player perspective and performance. I think also on the fan engagement perspective, there's huge opportunity for us to be closer to the fans, create community, start to educate, and create content on the fly. So it's content that's relevant and relatable to you and the things that you're interested in. So we've got a lot of opportunity to implement those tools. We talked about VR and AR a little bit earlier. I think if you think about the size of the canvas that a headset gives you, you've got your own sports studio at home, multiple different camera angles. I can sit where I want to sit. I can enable different stats that are important to me. I can watch with others. I can collaborate with others and create that sort of community effect around tennis, which is clearly there within the stadium. But I think there's more we can extract out to make it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really enjoy are the visualizations of the data, like where first serves are landing. I'm not a tennis aficionado, but I find that hugely valuable, and it's definitely improved my enjoyment of the sport. Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.